Hello everyone, it is me, CoffeeStitcher, back for episode 5. You can see little man's ears over here. How is everybody? I hope everyone's had a nice 2 weeks. I've had a very stitch-filled 2 weeks, which has been nice. I'm wearing my fabulous Alice from the Brady Bunch Pride shirt. Love Alice. So, hope everyone had a great week. Great 2 weeks, actually, I should say. This is the first video of July, which is a little hard to believe, but, you know, that's how calendars work. Yes, that is how calendars work. All right, so what are we going to talk about? Well, we are going to, we've got our usual stuff. We've got whips that I've worked on. We've got a little bit of haul. Apparently my whole statement in that first video is just null and void at this point. We've got some Flosstube shout-outs. We've got 2 finishes to show because I forgot to show you one last time. And then we've got the finish parade, because boy, y'all are not as interested in the felt kits as I wish you were, but that's okay, because the next video, or maybe the video after, we're gonna play this parade by ear. You're gonna get to start seeing some of the felt kits that I've got. So with that being said, we are going to dive right on in. My name is Garrett, of course. I'm CoffeeStitcher. You can find me on Instagram at CoffeeStitcher. And then if you're always welcome to reach out to me. My DMs are always open. I'm always happy to discuss crafting and stitching and Oz and other things. You can also email me if that's more your speed at coffeestitcher@gmail.com. Those contacts are going to be down below. So yeah. All right, so let's jump right on in with who did I watch this last 2 weeks. So there are, of course, the groups, the people that I keep up with, Fickle Stitches, Jason X Stitches, on a regular basis, but then there are some new to me's that I've added. So Colorfully Cross Stitched. She's a fairly new Flosstuber. She's only got, I think, 2 videos out. She is to Alice in Wonderland what I am to the Wizard of Oz. So, she's doing all sorts of really cool Alice patterns. Some I've stitched, some I haven't stitched, some I want to stitch. But she's got a really cool, cool list of whips, so I definitely recommend checking her out. Seashore Stitcher, who did a fabulous finish in her first video of the Owl Forest Wizard of Oz. More on that to come. Becca is Stitching, which on here I believe she shows up as Becca Bansky? I apologize, Becca, if I've given your last name wrong. She's got a lot of really cool whips. A lot of same vibes I feel like that I have. So definitely a shout out to her. And then Ditsy Daisy Crafts is just a delight. I know I mentioned her last time. She's just a delight. She has longer videos, which I really do dig. My job has shifted to a more processing job. So on my work from home days, it gives me, I can put on Flosstube for making me not go crazy and quiet. So she's great for my processing days. And then she introduced me to Seashore Stitcher, but also to Jen's Stitchy Corner. More on her to come as well. So that's who all I have watched the last 2 weeks, that were at least new to me. I do also want to take a quick moment to shout out Jason X Stitches. While round robins are not my thing, because that feels obligatory and I don't do obligation stitching well, the amount of work he has put into creating this world of round robins and this community is phenomenal, and he deserves all kinds of credit for it. I don't know how well you can tell, but I got a haircut this week. Actually, I got it yesterday. Specifically because I wanted to have the haircut before my next video, because my hair would look bad. All right. So because the haul is closer to me than my whips, I'll go ahead and show you the haul for the week. So first, I got this cute little felt kit. It is a Feltworks by Dimensions. It is from 1995. It's not very big. It's called Welcome Birdhouse. Very, 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 very mid-90s feeling. Those of us who were alive for the mid-90s, especially if we were young in the mid-90s, like, this is like half of what our mother's aesthetic was. And those of you who were mothers in the 90s, this is very likely half of what your aesthetic was. So I'm excited to eventually stitch this one up. I just realized I forgot my felt kit that I've been working on again, because I didn't put it in my notes. I need to get better about putting those things in my notes. That's okay. All right. I did pick up some Fabrique. One specific, both of them actually have specific plans. So I picked up some Mummy Wraps Ada from Ship's Manor. That is the fabric I'm doing it on in the even weave version that I'm doing my world map on, Adventure Awaits. But I got this one specifically for a Land of Narnia map that I want to start. I will try to remember to throw its image in there because I don't actually have one saved for it. But that was my plan for it. Very excited for that one. And then I wanted... Eric has a Halloween version of Mummy Wraps, as it were, which is a really nice, it's a dark blue with a little bit of purpley hints. And this one's also an Ada. And I got it specifically for Fine Frog Stitching's Cauldron Repair. So, which I have mostly kitted up. I haven't gotten it fully kitted. I'm missing some of the DMC, but next trip to Michael's, I will get that, because this one's going to have to be this one's going to be a start soon. And then I also picked up 3 more colors from Stuart Moore Textiles. These are botanical dyed, so all natural dyed, flosses for that Robin Pickens spring sweater weather. Just stay over here, buddy. So I got these 3 colors. So we've got here Winterberry, Pansy, and the white one is Snow. So super excited to use these and to stitch that pattern. That one also is at the top of my I want to stitch this soon list. I will have to use some non-botanicals for a couple of the colors, simply because there weren't the full colors that I needed in that. No, buddy, you're gonna stay over here. Ordinarily, I would not mind Asher deciding to abandon ship, but the finishes for the finish parade are stacked right there, and I don't want him walking all over that. Yes, no, I don't. No, I don't. I don't, you know. No, I do. Boop. My little man. All right. So that is my haul. So let's move into what did I work on this week? And, or the last 2 weeks. So I worked on a bunch. These are in no particular order. So we've got Anna from Brooke's Books, Dress Up Princesses Designs. This is on a one-off from Fortnite Fabrics. And almost done with the purple sash. The next time this one comes out, I will finish out the purple sash and get to start stitching on another color, which I'm excited for. So, really enjoy how this one's coming out so far. I really love her designs, and I am sad we won't get more new ones from her. Right. Let's see. Then I worked on Under the Sea by Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery. This was a stitch along, of course. This one is on Many Waters by Ship's Manor. And I started in this time on, I believe it's part 7. So I got 2 otters added and some more little fishies, as well as the water is completed. So basically, I think there's only like one more of the little metallic-y water waves. But for the most part, the water is done, which while I love how it looks and I love the colors that I went with, I'll see if I can zoom in for y'all to see. I'm using 2 different Rainbow Gallery threads together, so it is very bulky. So I'm going to be kind of glad to not have those any longer. So I know there's a school of fish that goes here, which is what I will work on next time. But here we go. We're getting close to a finish. I think this one, given that I want to say it's 10 parts and it takes me about 2 rotations to finish a part, I'm going to guess this one will be finished this year, because I think that should be about 5 more rotations. Yes, thank you for the kiss, buddy. Of course, that also depends if it gets picked for a whip go, then it might speed that up. That is not a hint, though, at anyone who's one of my whip go people. You're welcome to pick whatever you would like to pick. All right. Let's see. Then we've got Farming Magic's out, which I did not put as many stitches in on as I was supposed to, but I just wasn't quite feeling it up this time. And that happens sometimes, and that's okay. So we started on the next part, so that got me those 3 pumpkins there. Here's the overall. So there's like 1 stitch more on the other side of that smallest pumpkin, and then not completes the part, but that gets me all the way across. So we definitely have plenty of space for margin, which was my worry that I had miscounted in some way. But part 7 is basically all of this column here. And then there's a little like purple path that comes along here, but the way it was structured, it was actually part of this section here, but it was gonna make for really, really weird counting. So I opted to wait until I had a little more done that I could kind of use as landmarks. I tend to be a landmark stitcher, so I count, of course, but the landmarks help make sure that I'm in the right spot. So, yeah. And this is by Flossy Fox Shop. And I don't know what this fabric is. It is a Fortnite. It was from the year that the opalescents all had sort of money themes. But I pretty much immediately lost the bag it came in. All right. I got some work in on Shining Star. This is by SamSarah. This is on Dryad Saddle by Fortnite Fabrics. I got a lot done. I got the bottom half done. So I'm about roughly, I think, 2/3 of the way. So not bad. So we've got verse, and then I think it's 3 boxes, verse, and then the star is in a box on the top. So we're getting there. We are getting there. I do think this one is probably a 1... probably 2, maybe 3 rotations more. We'll finish this one out. So we're making good progress through the archives that I've got. Great. I got to work on my Whipgo piece, which is, this month, is exclusively Night Walked Down by the Blue Flower. Jason and Imogen both picked that one. So it came up on the rotation for the first time. And here it is. So I did a little over 750 stitches because I really wanted to finish out the skirt. This is on Demeter's Harvest by Die Stitch Love. And here's where we are. So when last I worked on this, I had her arm, her hair, her face, and the moon done, and that was it. So I did the skirt, the top of the cat, a couple of the stars. So the skirt I did, it's supposed to be called for with Gentle Arts Seaweed, which doesn't exist, and I've never found a correction from Blue Flower. So I don't know what the correct substitution was supposed to be. Looking at the picture and looking at what I think the dress is intended to be, I think it should have been a blue, but I went with Otter Creek from Gentle Arts, and so it's a green, which is still very pretty. What I did, because I didn't want it to end up super stripy, is I did what I did once upon a time, and I can show it to you in the finish, on the SamSarah Something Wicked This Way Comes. And I went, instead of going in straight lines, I went up and over. So I did like a zigzag. So it was like working two lines at the same time. So where her hair, I worked the outline and then sort of worked my way to the center, which gave it texture. This time I did the zigzag, which gave it a muddy but still variegated quality. And I'm really happy with how it turned out. So the next time this one gets to come play, I will get to do, get started on some of these really pretty flowers. So looking forward to that. Right. And then that brings me to, so because my schedule has changed at work, this week I started doing trying to do about 100 stitches a day. So basically from the time I get home from work and have my nap through to dinner time, on Adventure Weights by Caterpillar cross stitch. So I did finish out North America. I'm down here working on South America now. I got not South America, Central America, got the two cactuses. So we'll work our way down. I think now doing 100 stitches thereabouts a day, we're gonna really see this one finish up soon. I don't know if it'll be a finish come the end of this month, but certainly by the end of August, we should be done with this one. So this one's on Mummy Wraps from Ship's Manor. Set you over there so you go back into the right spot. And then what I was working on, and then I took it off the Nerge for whatever bizarre reason. So I've still got about 400 stitches left to do on this one. This is Meditation Garden from Jan Hicks Creates. I'm doing basically a DMC version. But here's where I'm at so far on it. So you will see it next time. What I did was I started working the next page over. So I got that little outline, and I'm starting on the little hedge maze down below. So here we are. So I should get that one finished either Monday or Tuesday, and then move on to the next thing. All right, so I did work on one other project, and it came to a finish. Now, the reason I went ahead and worked on that one was because, as I mentioned, Jen's Stitching Corner, she is doing a new stitch-along for the Owl Forest Emerald City pattern. That was the 2019 freebie stitch-along that they did. I stitched it at the time. I do not know what I have done with my finish. It's not FFO'd. It is somewhere in the house. I have no clue where it is, so I'll insert a picture there so you can see my finish. But I am going to be restitching it. I had wanted to kind of redo that one for a while, not because I was unhappy with my original finish, but I really wanted to do one to celebrate one of my favorite adaptations of the series, which is the 1986 to 1987 Pan Media / Sinar here in the US and Canada, Pan Media elsewhere, which adapted the first 3 books and the 6th book, so Wizard, Land, Ozma, and Emerald City of Oz, into a 52 episode series. The first one is pretty much the most faithful adaptation there is. Like, it hits all of the things in that first book, including Dainty China Country and the giant forest spider. Puts it in a little different location. There's also a random sequence of them being lost in a cave. There's a lot of extra little add-ins, but it really does hit the basic, like, it hits all the points. Land is pretty faithful. It does bring Dorothy back into it. It leaves out the Wogglebug. Ozma of Oz, because it was still under copyright, is less faithful. And Emerald City is also less faithful, but it does kind of also hit the main plot is there. It's just the adaptation decay is severe. But I really love that series a lot. So what I'm going to be doing is converting the characters in the Owl Forest Oz to look like that series. It also means some of the landmarks in it are going to be altered some. Not tremendously altered, but altered. So that meant that I needed to finish this first finish that I'm going to show you, which was Sew Needlejuice's The Wizard of Oz. So here is my finish. Yay! I basically did this as charted. I did use metallics, obviously, for Emerald City and the Ruby Slippers. I left out the red that was supposed to be in the centers of all of the blocks in the border because I kind of liked how it looked without the red. Like, it gave it a cool effect. And then I also left out a few of, like, the little, like, extra, like, starbursts, just because I wanted to give it space because I loved the character design, so I wanted there to be as much focus on them as possible. So here it is in all its glory. I will be stitching it. I've got 2 fabric choices here, and I've got a third that I've ordered from Color and Cotton, which will be here in time. It starts next Monday, the 21st. So I haven't totally decided what I'm going to use. I've got 2 choices here that I'll show you. One is Mystic Fabrics Big Sky. And this was actually the fabric I ordered for the original one that I was going to stitch it on, and then changed my mind. I ordered it from Fire Poppies. R.I.P. Fire Poppies. It's a nice blue opalescent, which is a safe choice. Like, I know it's going to work on that. However, that series, particularly, now not to get too deep into the lore, but the English dub, instead of them sending the master tapes to Sinar, which was based in Canada, instead of sending them the master tapes, they actually sent them VHS runoffs of the master tapes. So there was some color degradation, I think that's the right word, from the original master to the VHSs that they used. And then, of course, over time and copying, the color has got murkier then. And a lot of the sky and background, particularly in in certain scenes, is very yellow. And I don't mean like, oh, it's got a yellow tint. No, it's like yellow-orange. So I have this piece of Luminous Warmth from Fortnite Fabrics that I'm considering it for. And then I ordered a Canary from Color and Cotton to see how it looks. Part of me wants to do the yellow as homage to that. I may not, though. I really haven't decided. So we will see. But you'll find out. I'll find out. We're all gonna find out. Only way that's gonna work anyways. So, and then the finish that I had that I forgot to show you in the last video, I did finish the Ginny Bean Halloween. This is on Desert Sands. It's an even weave from, I want to say Witchold. It's either Witchold or Zweigart. But here it is in all its beautiful glory. I had a lot of fun stitching this one, so very glad it's finished. It came together much quicker once I decided what I wanted to do with the border. The colors are mostly the uncalled for colors, because that's my jam. But yeah, here it is, all nice and finished. Yay! And with that said, it is time to launch into the finish parade. Now, I did organize my finishes. That's what I spent this afternoon doing, was ironing out as much creases as I could, which if anyone has any suggestions or tips, I am all ears for those. This is all the stuff that has not been FFO'd, which is a lot, because I am bad about FFOing stuff. There, with two exceptions, which are, because I really wanted to show you all the series together. So I'm gonna actually have to pause here because I forgot to grab them off the wall. Okay, back I am. So, there is a method to my madness on this, I promise. So we will see that. Now, one of these is in a hoop, but I'm not decided for sure. Hiccups, that this one's gonna be in a hoop. It's gonna be the first one up though, for that reason. So this is and I will forewarn you, I don't necessarily remember. I can tell you generally who the designer is. I may not be able to tell you the name of the designer, of the project. May also not be able to tell you what fabric it's on, because I don't really do a good job of keeping up with that stuff. This one is by Mama Witch Cross Stitch. I finished it last year, maybe year before last, and some of these you may have already seen, if you're a longtime viewer. If you're not a longtime viewer, then these are going to be all new to you. This one, I've got it in a hoop. I'm not sure I'm going to leave it in a hoop. It's sort of a weird oval-shaped pattern, and I am having trouble finding a hoop frame for it, but I really feel like it needs a hoop frame and not an anything else frame, so I'm really not entirely sure what to do with it. I did it on this. This was definitely a one-of-a-kind by Fortnite, but really happy with how it turned out. So, all right. Then we've got, this is going to be my non-fabric finishes. So this one here is a, was one we did with, it's called Water. I don't remember who the designer is, but it was a class I took with my local chapter of the Embroidery Guild of America. It was a really fun, really quick stitch. There are 4 in the design, so Earth, Wind, Fire, and Air. Several people in my EGA did finish it, and did finish all 4. And then one member, his name is Raymond, he actually designed his own ether to go with it. That was super cool. So this was fun. Counted canvas, I enjoy it. It is not ever going to replace cross stitch in my heart though. And then we've got 2 Brooks Books perforated paper finishes. We've got the Little Mermaid from the unfinished Little Mermaid collection. And then Alice from her Alice in Wonderland collection. So, right. Now then, we get into the finish parade proper. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna keep going. If it looks like we're at a point where I should stop, then I will probably stop and we'll resume it the next time. But I might get through them all in one video. We will see. All right, so first up, this is the Wizard of Oz Stitch Along. So the first category is Oz. This was done by Pedal Pusher. So it's very definitely based off of the MGM film as opposed to the books. I did a couple of tweaks to the pattern. I added Glinda into the poppy field because she did Glinda as a separate ornament. I used at least one variegated thread in the piece, or in each section. Really loved her tornado. So that was her Oz Sal. This one is The Wizard of Oz by SamSarah. I did some changes to make the Wicked Witch green-skinned, because that is my preference. I changed the Scarecrow's coloring a little bit, and then I made the Emerald City actually emerald. And used a little bit of metallic for the ruby slippers, as well as, of course, the Emerald City. So... I really love the SamSarah fairy tale groups, and you'll see more of those later. Then we've got Quaker Oz by Ori TM. I finished this one, I think, in 2020. I used a whole mixture of things. I used, of course, metallics in the Emerald City, and for the silver shoes, and in the crown and wand. I did make this one more book themed, so I added in like the China Princess, and there's Jelaya Jam, and a Hammerhead, and then a Quadling, Munchkin, Gillikin, and Winky. Let's see, what else did I do? I did in this little wreath where the crown and wand are. The crown is in red for Glinda. The wand is in purple for the Witch of the North. And then I added the little rings are in the Quadrants of Oz, and then Baum's initials are below. I'm just realizing that I didn't put a beak on one of the crows. All right. Well, look at me go there. All right. But yeah, there was this one. This one is by Stitchy Princess Black. I'm pretty sure this is on Fairy Whispers, like a leftover piece of that from Die Stitch Love. I think I used a 12 for the border. Had fun stitching this one. I did give Dorothy pink bows because she kind of reminds me of Gretchen from Recess. So there's that one. This one is by Silver Creek Samplers. I think it's called Dorothy's Discovery. And it says, the power is there whenever you choose. It's found in the heart and not in your shoes. And in this one, I converted Toto to look like our dog Remy. And then because I like acknowledging the silver shoes, but I also like the ruby slippers, one of the things I tend to do, if it's not based off of a specific adaptation or property, is I will do silver shoe with red heel. So that's what I did here. Let's see. I also like to use silk lame braid for my rainbows, as you've probably noticed. And then this one is Wizard of Oz Tree by Tiny Modernist. And this one, I used a lot of fuzzy stuff in like the hair and the wings on the monkey and the mane on the lion. Basically everyone's hair is either fuzzy stuff or whisper. I used the Kreinik Easter braid to make the crystal ball and the hourglass kind of translucenty. And yeah, I made Dorothy and Glinda women of color. And then I definitely used silk lame braid for the Emerald City and the Rainbow, and then fuzzy stuff on the clouds. The clouds don't really photograph very well because the Ada that I used, but they're definitely there. And then again, you can see my silver shoes with red heels. I really love these tree designs that Tiny Modernist came up with. I've got the Edgar Allan Poe tree. I may have Nutcracker tree. I definitely have not purchased Wonderland or Snow White yet, but I've got the others. All right, so that are the Oz finishes. Now we're gonna get into Stitching Book Club. Yay! And these are not in any real particular order. So here we've got Anne of Green Gables, which was one of the 2023 Stitch-alongs. And one of like the 3 projects I finished last year. We've got The Great Gatsby, which was a 21 Stitch-along that I did in 22. And the first time I used black fabric. And I did use metallics because I'm me. We've got Little Women. Little Women, I had to leave the side border off because I had some counting issues, and as a result, the side border was not going to match up. So, yeah. But there we go. I know that one was, the Anne of Green Gables was on one she died. Little Women was on a fortnight. I know for sure Frankenstein, which is next, was a fortnight. I don't remember which color. But this is Frankenstein. This was a 2020. This one was one where I went real big on a concept. That I don't necessarily think paid off. But you know, it is what it is there. So the greens, basically every time I would use one strand of a color and then I would switch to another totally different green. Because my thought was, we're piecing it together from various greens, like Victor pieced his creation together from multiple bodies. And then I used the yellow and the blue just to give some accent work to it. And then I used gold for the inner border because it looked sort of like fire, and Frankenstein is also subtitled Or a Modern Prometheus, and Prometheus brought fire to man, and so that was my thought there, was it's sort of fire but also sort of lightning bolty. So that was kind of my concept. I think ultimately I would have been better served just to have picked one variegated green and gone with that. It would have made things a lot simpler, but there you have it. All right, then we've got, this one is A Christmas Carol. This is the piece that I decided to do all in metallics because I am that person. So here it is. This one's on Dryad Saddle. It's much prettier in person. The golds don't photograph well. They get lost on the fabric on here, but in person it looks really, really pretty. You'll just have to take my word for that. My eventual plan, it came with 3 smalls. So my eventual plan was I was going to do the one that had the A Christmas Carol name. And my eventual plan was I was going to stitch it as like a 2-sided ornament. Obviously, that has not happened yet. But that was my plan, at least. So, and that was, I think, a 2020 pattern. We've got, we'll show this one first, then we'll end with the first one. Then we've got my finish of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, which was a limited edition because she only got a certain number of, she was only allowed to release a certain number. I did use some beads in this one, and I did use some metallics. So here it is. I also altered Mr. Tumnus just a smidge, but it turned out really, really pretty, and I really loved this one. Growing up, Narnia was a second favorite to Oz. So this one has a special place in my heart. So I really, really, really enjoyed doing this one. I was really glad she was able to at least release it in part. And that brings us back to her very first one, which was Pride and Prejudice. So here it is. I left off the years and I left the initials off the plates. I'm actually thinking I will probably go back and add the years. Because I do like that it does give you sort of a record of when they were stitched, even though there are a couple of them that don't have the year in them. Secret Garden doesn't. Sense and Sensibility doesn't. But I think all the rest do. I still have Dracula, Jane Eyre, and Emma to finish. Sense and Sensibility is hanging up. It's FFO'd. Secret Garden, I have plans for an FFO of it, and I have yet to bring it to fruition. But, there we go. All right. Y'all still doing okay? Y'all hanging in with me? Awesome. All right, next up we have the Brooks Books Princess Dresses. Now, 2 of them have been FFO'd. So I'm going to show those to you first because I took them off the wall. And I wanted to do it because I really wanted y'all to get to see them all so far. So this first one is Kaguya from a Studio Ghibli film. I finished this one in 21? 22? Maybe it was 23. I don't remember now, but I finished it, and that's what matters. I did it on this really cool... I liked this one because not only she is the Moon Princess, so not only did it give the suggestion of like a starry sky, but also a little bit of like cherry blossoms. So really loved how this one turned out. It was a very fast stitch too. So, and then the other one that I've FFO'd, and I do like doing these as canvas finishes, is Snow White. And Snow White was on Ale by Picture This Plus. So there we have that one. All right, then I've also finished Cinderella. This one is on Vintage Damask by Fabric Flair. Really loved this fabric and how this one ended up turning out. So here she is. Love all the little details in these. This one is Aurora. I finished this one right as I started at Charles Schwab. And I love the color fading, which was a pain to stitch, but it looks so good that I don't care. It just looks that good. So, and then she's got some beautiful detailing on the sleeves. This is the first one that I did. It's on a fabric from Color and Cotton. I am on the fence on if I will ever actually FFO this one. Full disclosure. When I stitched this, at the time I stitched this, I really was I was a different person. I would not, if I were starting the collection now, I would not have stitched it. But it was a situation where I really loved the fabric color and thought it would be perfect for it, and it does look fabulous. I am, since then, I've become more aware of the, what's the word I want to use? I've become more aware of the, I hate saying plight, that's not the right word, but I'm more aware of the indigenous people of America and how their culture has been frequently co-opted in ways that it should not be. I do not for a second believe there was any ill intent behind this design. So there was no malice, no ill intent here. It is based off of Tiger Lily from Peter Pan, which that's its own separate issue. But it is not based off of the Disney Pocahontas film, which is really not great. But this is Tiger Lily. I'm proud of how the design looks, but again, I'm not sure it's ever actually going to hang on my wall. But it is part of the collection, so I'm including it here. So here she is. It's beautiful. Will I ever hang it on my wall? Probably not, but it is part of the collection. So instead, we're going to end the collection with my most recent finish from Brooke's Books, which is Tiana, which I finished earlier this year. She is on a Fox and Rabbit, I want to say it's Tibushina. So this beautiful purple. She was a lot of fun to stitch. She came out so pretty. Really happy with how she came out. All right. So, there you have it. That is the Brooke's Books section of this finish parade. We are at 45 minutes, and we've still got a fairly decent... Asher is resting his head on the finishes. Still got a decent bit to get through. So we'll see where we end up, where we are after the Halloween section. And make the determination there. So first up, we have from Prairie Schooler. This one, I want to say it was called Nevermore. This one, I basically I used it as a stash buster. So I stitched this one. I finished it back in 2020. Really love this one. I will definitely, I already have the canvas for this one. I just haven't gotten off my butt and actually put it on the canvas. This is one I finished earlier this year. This is Stitchin' Witches by the Victoria Sampler. This one I basically stitched as is because I had the kit for it. I did make a change to this witch's hair color because that witch reminded me of a friend of mine who has a black cat and for a while had crows in their backyard. So tweaked that for that friend, and then I also changed the skin tone on one of the witches down here. So, yeah. This one, it's not really Halloween, but it was the only category this really felt like it belonged in. This one is Wheel of the Year by the Wishing Thorn. I did a Gentle Arts conversion on it. Here it is. So it is a band sampler, and each band is a different one of the different, main festivals in the pagan culture. So we've got Yule, Imbolc, Otera, Beltane, Midsummer, Lunasa, Mabon, and Samhain. So I really enjoyed stitching this one, and I do want to get that one FFO'd eventually. All right, this one is an oldie but a goodie. It is Hallow Eden by Plum Street. This one, the big change I did, because it only called for one skein of hickory sticks, which might work if you were doing it on like a really high count with only one strand, but on a not really high count, it did not. So I used alternate the orange and the green, or the black and the green. So here we have it. So that was a fun one. Here's another one that I finished a while back. It is a Bent Creek I don't remember what the pattern itself is called, but it's part of their Snappers series. And if I had been, I forgot that it had a basement pattern, and I didn't have enough space to do the basement. But it is a haunted house. So the first floor is a pirate ghost and a bride of Frankenstein and a Dracula and a mummy. And then the second floor is Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, and her dog Gronk, which was supposed to just be a regular witch and a cat, but I had too much fun turning her into Elvira. And then 2 ghosts playing dress up and a ghost chilling outside the house. So this was a really, really fun one. Yeah. I'm really proud of her fishnet stockings. So what I did was I did the full cross with her skin tone, and then I went over the top stitch just as a half stitch to give it that sort of sheer fishnet effect. So, yeah. This one's another older one that I still really love. It is, I want to say it was called All Hallows Eve. Forgotten now. It was by Tempting Tangles. It's still available. I did this all in Ship's Manor with a couple original arts thrown in. So, really loved this one. And it's on Silvery Moon from Ship's Manor. This one was a old vintage pattern that I did as a quick start and finish on fabric that I really hated, but that's okay, it's done, and I can eventually FFO it in some capacity. And then one of my earliest finishes, the SamSarah Something Wicked stitch along, done all in its called for, and what I did here on the moon, similarly to what I was talking about in Night Walk Down, was I did it over, I did it 2 lines together, which took forever on this one. But what I like about it is it gave it a splotchy look, and then you also can sort of, it's not showing up as well on camera, but you can actually see the dots printed behind the yellow, so it almost gives it a cratery effect. So, yeah. And then the last of the Halloween ones. This was a Lizzie Kate Halloween stitch along. It says, "Witch and ghost make merry on this last of dear October's days." So there it is. This one is on a 36 count, and I did do it 1/1. And it took for dang near ever, it felt like. That's okay. All right, we are at 53 minutes. And I think that is probably the best place to stop for now. Because I think it's going to take me way over an hour, and I really don't like going over an hour. I don't know how many of y'all actually want to watch me for that long. I don't know. What do you think, buddy? You think we should keep going? What do you think? Yeah, we'll do one more section and see how we're feeling. So this one is a section of stitch-alongs. This one is cryptids from the Witchy Stitcher. I did the names all in a dark blue metallic. I used the rest the metallics are all Krynic, and then the rest of it was all Aurifil. That was back when I was being an Aurifil artisan. And I did actually keep up with this one entirely, which was amazing that I did. I did do the Goatman as the optional one for the last one instead of Bigfoot, or I think there was a Frogman, because our local cryptid is a Goatman. So, yeah. Right. Then this one was a spring sampler from Frosted Pumpkin. I did it on Kiwi from Fiber on a Whim. And here it is. Spring. I used, looks like a toile for the rainbow on this one. And I used fuzzy stuff for the clouds. And then everything else is probably the called for, or at least close to the called for. Maybe I did use hand dyes and I don't remember it. I don't remember. I finished this one a while back. Then we've got the Clouds Factory Zodiac Sampler. This one is massive. It is on this one is 36 count. I did stitch it 1/2, and it still really is, it's massive. I don't know how this one's ever going to end up getting FFO'd. And honestly, the stuff that's not showing up in camera really doesn't even show up that well in person. So this was another one where it was a really good idea. And had I used a darker fabric, it would have been fine, but it was during a phase when I was like, no, dark fabric is horrible. So I finished it. I love it. It'll probably never get hung up. This is The Way to Happiness, Sal. Finished this one a couple of years back. I did a Gentle Arts conversion on it. The light gray words show up significantly better in person. Like, you can read this in person where you can't on here. So, there's that. Then we've got the Clouds Factory Magical Creatures Stitch Along. This one is on a Die Stitch Love. I don't remember the name of that Die Stitch Love floss. Basically, though, every section of this I did in a different brand of floss. So there's a lot of different colors, a lot of different concepts going on in here, but I do really love it. It turned out pretty awesome. So I love I don't know how well it's going to show up, but the trees I stitched in a random pattern with a variegated floss. So, all right. Then we've got our two Mirabilias. This one is Seaside Kingdom. I think that's what that one was called. I got this during the reissue. I completely forgot I had even stitched this until I was going through these things today. So, and then this one is one of the mermaids. I forget which one. I think maybe Sea Flora. It's also been finished for a while. All right, and now we come to our fairy tale collection. So we've got, first up, the Nutcracker by Soda Stitch. This is on Christmas in Williamsburg, the gold opal from Under the Sea Fabrics. Then we've got Snow White. I don't remember what fabric this one's on. We'll come back to Soda Stitch. This one was a sal from the Cross Stitcher magazine by Shannon Christine Designs. And it's different fairy tale princesses or female characters in some cases. So we've got, obviously, Rapunzel, Snow White, this was Fairy Godmother, and then the Frog Princess, Alice, who I changed into Dorothy, the Little Mermaid, Red Riding Hood, Sleeping Beauty, and Gretel, and then the Snow Queen, Belle, and Cinderella. And as you can see, I did a whole bunch of skin tone conversions on it. This one was stitched by my good friend, the Stash Queen. This is actually my own design from the brief little period when I thought I wanted to be a designer. Spoiler alert, I did not. And it was called Snow White. And she stitched these all, I think, in Moe's silks. I don't remember 100% for sure at this point. But it was my own design, so that one's kind of cool. We've got the Soda Stitch Little Mermaid. Which I really loved. It was a fun one to stitch. All right. We're at an hour and we are into our last category. So we're just gonna go for it. I hope y'all enjoy the fact that this was a longer video. Yeah, no, right, buddy. This is what I'm going to lovingly call the junk drawer. This was all the stuff that really didn't fit any other theme in there. So this one is, it is a Blackbird Designs. It is one that was in like a series of something that I subscribed to through Silver Needle once, where we got a whole bunch of it was 5 designers and they sent 5 kits, and this was the Blackbird Designs one. And it was when I learned that Blackbird Designs, when she picks a fabric, you either need to change the fabric or change the floss. Because a lot of this you really can't see. It had me do some over one. It has my dad's birth year and his initials, and my mom's birth year and her initials. I stitched this forever ago. And never gave it to them. Now my dad's dead, so, you know. And it's really not even my mother's colors, so it's probably just gonna stay there. This one is Thistle the Highland Coo by Bendy Stitchy. I stitched that one earlier this year. It was a lot of fun. I did it in the called for threads. This is another one that I finished earlier this year. It is Secret Garden from Tiny Modernist. It is on Moccasin from Fortnite Fabrics. So, really enjoyed this one. It really turned out very pretty. Incredibly dense. If you had told me that it was, I got down to the bottom, it's oh, this is 800 stitches. No, it was more like 1,600. All right. This is one of the 3 Cape Cod vignettes from Jeanette Douglas? Yeah, Jeanette Douglas. That doesn't sound right. Maybe? No, we'll go with it. It was on a random one-off fabric, I think, that I've got. I definitely, if you go to my Instagram, you can see the details. This one was a big finish. This one was a start that I started back in, the 2nd year of Stitch Mania. And then got stymied because you were supposed to put your name into it, and I couldn't figure out how to make my name fit. And then, a year and a half ago, I was oh, I could just, only capitalize the G. And then I basically finished it out from there. So this is, it was officially called Sing a Sampler by Silver Creek. I called it Do Re Mi, for obvious reasons. So here it is in all its glory. It is the lyrics to Do Re Mi from The Sound of Music. I was the originator, and you can go back to the video and see that I was the originator of changing the runner into Maria von Trapp. That is one of my few claims to fame in the cross-stitch world. So, yeah, I was the originator of that. I did do rainbow colors for all of the different letters. I used Gentle Arts all the way throughout, except there is a cottage sampler threads for the when you know the notes to sing. Some of the changes that I made, so obviously my name went in there for Garrett. Weren't too many changes over here in this first part. And so I went with, I guess So didn't have anything. Law did, though. Law, I replaced the year with Oscar Hammerstein and Richard Rodgers, so their initials, OH and RR, because they wrote the song. And then 11/16/1959, that was the opening night for the original production of The Sound of Music, starring Mary Martin and Theodore Bickel. And fun factoid, one of the replacement Rolfs was John Voight. Who knew he could sing? And who knew he would miss the whole point of that story? And then in Tea, A Drink with Jam and Bread, I did change the teacup to reflect the colors of the window curtains that she turns into the play clothes for the song in the movie. She does the same thing in the stage version, but they may even actually be the same color in the original Broadway production, but I don't remember off the top of my head. But I know I went off the movie, because the movie is one of the few times I really think the film improves upon the stage version. Not least of which is because it's in that beautiful on-location setting, but when the Baroness decides to have her little conversation with Maria, and that's what sends her back to the Abbey, I think that's so much better and so much dramatically stronger. Plus Eleanor Parker's fabulous. But there we have it. Right. This one is one of the few chicken pieces I've actually finished. It says, "Every day is a beautiful day." And it's got some chickens and a rooster. This is one I did for, I believe, Stitch Asia. It is, it's Anne Frank. I'm blanking on the designer's name. I took out the planes because I felt like it was a dour enough piece without them. And I really wanted to focus more on the message of Anne and the quote. I also stitched on a purple fabric because that does mean hope in certain cultures. So it says, "In spite of everything, I still believe that people are really good at heart." And it's Anne Frank. The roof is actually in the same pattern as the cover of her famous diary. So there you have it. This one is called Moonflower. I don't remember who the designer is. It's on a Fortnite fabric. I know that much. Here it is. I started it for, I think, one of the manias. It was a beautiful pattern. The first release of the pattern is all kinds of errors in it. So I did have to get a new copy sent from the designer. So here it is in all its glory. All right, this was another one of my very early finishes. It is a ABC from Lizzie Kate. I want to say it was like Winter String, maybe. And I did it in the called for colors on the only time I've ever had an R&R Reproductions fabric. Yeah. This one is a Shepherd's Bush. I don't remember what the fabric is that I did it on. It's called He Tends, She Keeps, but I altered it to be more gender neutral because I wasn't going to use the little charms. Again, all Gentle Arts and Classic Colorworks, basically. But it says, "They mind and tend their garden fair. They keep their flock with tender care." So, I really enjoyed stitching this one. It was really pretty. It's designed to be for individuals, but they did actually all link up. So that's what I did, was I linked them all together as one. This one was a little quickie called Winter's Piece. This one is a Waxing Moon Designs. And it says, "May you never be too grown up to search the sky on Christmas Eve." So, here it is. And Santa is black in mine. So, oh. All right. This one which just says, I am positively bedeviled with meetings, etc., Moira Rose, which I'd intended to do for my cubicle at work, and then I never FFO'd it. So, and now I'm in a cubicle that doesn't actually have a good space or ability to hang things, so it doesn't really matter. This one is this is the first ever stamped kit I did. It is the Governor's Palace in Williamsburg, Virginia. It is from Paragon Needlecraft. And I stitched this one because I saw it in the background of an episode of Murder, She Wrote in Jessica Fletcher's house. So I even went down here and used her initials and the year 1977. So J.B. Fletcher, 77. It's not the greatest. It looks better at a distance, but like the back stitching didn't really hold its shape very well. So I don't know that this one will ever hang. And I kind of do get a little bit of an amusement about this ending up at like Goodwill after I've died and someone wondering who JBF is, and not knowing that's what it was. All right, this was another Plum Street. Make use of the present time. It was part of their cereal bowl collection. And they were ones that you got the floss and the pattern and any like embellishments to finish it out for like a bowl. And then you have supply your own fabric. So I have the full set. This is the only one I've ever done. Isn't that right? And then this is the last section, which is all Tempting Tangles. So this one is called This Corner of the Earth. It was shaped like a heart, and then there was actually like a little filigree down here, so it would be a square finish. But I really liked it as a heart. I thought that was kind of unique. Never mind that I will probably have no clue how I'll ever finish this. Probably as a canvas, if it ever gets hung anyways. We'll save this one for last because it's the big mamma jamma. This one was a Let Freedom Reign. I think it was originally called Let Freedom Ring, but she charted both versions. So here is mine. This one I don't remember the name of. It is part of her coffee and tea set. And this one is all iced teas. And I really enjoyed that one. I really enjoy her designs. I need to stitch some more of them. It has been too long. And then finally, one of my all-time favorite finishes, and I really do need to just suck it up, take it down, get it framed. It is Longfellow's Round Tower on a piece of fabric that was called Garrett's Time Machine, dyed specifically for me by Dye Stitch Love. And it's just gorgeous. I love this design so much. The castle has such wonderful little details, and the trees and the verse. I love this piece so much. And unfortunately, it does not do it justice to see it here. Partially because in person, this darker area of the fabric is not quite so dark. It's better in person than it shows up on camera, and I hate that because it's truly gorgeous, and I really need to just get this thing framed. So, and that is the end of the finish parade. So hour 15, that's not bad. It could have been a lot worse. Isn't that right, bud? All right, well, with that being said, cheers. When I come back in 2 weeks, we will have a start on that Emerald City sale, which is exciting. We will have other things that we will have worked on. We will probably have other haul. I don't think we'll have any other finishes though, but we will get to see the felt kits. So those of you who have been very excited for the felt kits, you will get to see those next week. It will probably be a 2-part video, because I have a lot of felt kits. We'll see though. We may just go ahead and do it all in one. But in the meanwhile, if there's something you want to see or anything you might be interested in that I can add into my videos. After we get to the felt kit parades, that's kind of it for the backlog of stuff. I guess I can show you the FFOs that I've got hanging around the house that I can easily remove. Can always do that, but I'm kind of running out of like backed up content. So if you've got any suggestions, please drop them below. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the week, the next 2 weeks. I do believe that will put me back one more time in July. But if it doesn't, then I hope you have a great rest of your month. And I will see you all next time. Have a great day, everybody. Okay, apparently I'm gonna have to keep this in. It wouldn't let me edit this part out last time either.